The story of Moses and the Exodus is one of the most powerful narratives in the Bible, serving as a cornerstone for the Jewish, Christian, and Islamic faiths. It is a tale of liberation, faith, and divine intervention that has inspired countless generations. The Exodus story is not merely a historical account. It is a profound spiritual journey that speaks to the enduring human quest for freedom and justice. Through Moses, God demonstrated his power and commitment to his people, transforming a group of enslaved individuals into a nation bound by covenant and purpose, the birth and calling of Moses. The narrative begins with the Israelites suffering under the harsh bondage of Egyptian slavery. Pharaoh, fearing the growing population of the Israelites, decreed that all newborn Hebrew boys be killed. In this time of crisis, a Levite woman saved her son by placing him in a basket on the Nile River. This child was discovered and adopted by Pharaoh's daughter and named Moses, meaning drawn out of the water. Exodus 2:10. Moses grew up in the Egyptian palace, but he never forgot his Hebrew roots. One day, witnessing an Egyptian beating a Hebrew slave, Moses intervened and killed the Egyptian. Fearing for his life, he fled to Midian, where he lived as a shepherd. It was here in the wilderness that God called Moses from a burning bush, commanding him to return to Egypt and lead his people to freedom. Exodus 3:1-10. Moses, initially reluctant and filled with self-doubt, questioned his ability to confront Pharaoh and liberate the Israelites. God's assurance to Moses, "I will be with you," Exodus 3:12, highlights a central theme of the Exodus narrative: divine presence and empowerment in the face of human inadequacy. God equipped Moses with miraculous signs and sent his brother Aaron to be his spokesman, emphasizing that liberation is a divine initiative requiring human cooperation. Confronting Pharaoh, the plagues. Moses and Aaron confronted Pharaoh with a simple yet powerful demand: "Let my people go." Exodus 5:1. Pharaoh's heart was hardened, and he refused. What followed were 10 devastating plagues, each demonstrating God's supremacy over the Egyptian gods and Pharaoh's power. The plagues included turning the Nile to blood, infestations of frogs, lice, and flies, the death of livestock, boils, hail, locusts, darkness, and finally the death of the firstborn. Exodus 7:12. Each plague was not just a physical affliction, but a spiritual confrontation. They dismantled the Egyptian religious and socio-political structures, showing that the God of Israel was not to be trifled with. The final plague, the death of the firstborn, was a turning point. Pharaoh's resistance was broken, and he released the Israelites. The Passover, instituted on the night of the final plague, became a perpetual reminder of God's deliverance and the cost of redemption. Exodus 12:14-28. The journey to freedom. Crossing the Red Sea. The Israelites' journey to freedom was marked by a series of miraculous events, the most dramatic of which was the crossing of the Red Sea. Pursued by Pharaoh's army, the Israelites found themselves trapped between the sea and their oppressors. In this moment of despair, Moses' faith shone brightly. He stretched out his hand, and God parted the waters, allowing the Israelites to pass through on dry ground. When the Egyptians pursued, the waters returned, drowning the army and securing Israel's escape. Exodus 14:21-31. This event is pivotal in the Exodus narrative, symbolizing the definitive break from slavery to freedom. It underscores the idea that salvation is an act of divine grace and power. The Israelites' song of celebration, Exodus 15, reflects their recognition of God's mighty deeds and his faithful love. This crossing is a testament to the fact that with God, even the most insurmountable obstacles can be overcome. The wilderness journey, testing, and covenant. The journey from the Red Sea to Mount Sinai was a period of testing and transformation for the Israelites. They faced hunger, thirst, and the threat of enemies, but at each turn, God provided for their needs: manna from heaven, water from a rock, and victory over the Amalekites. Exodus 16-17. These experiences were meant to teach the Israelites dependence on God and trust in His provision. At Mount Sinai, the Israelites entered into a covenant relationship with God. The giving of the Ten Commandments and the laws that followed established the moral and ethical foundation for the Israelite community. Exodus 19:24. This covenant was not just a set of rules, but a binding relationship, with God promising to be their God and the Israelites committing to be His people. The building of the tabernacle as a place of worship signified God's desire to dwell among His people. Exodus 25:31. However, this period also revealed the Israelites' propensity to doubt and disobey. The incident of the golden calf, Exodus 32, showed how quickly they could turn away from God when faced with uncertainty. Moses' intercession on their behalf and God's merciful response demonstrated the depth of God's commitment to His covenant people, even in their failures. The legacy of Moses and the Exodus. The Exodus story, culminating in Moses' leadership and the Israelites' journey to the Promised Land, has left an indelible mark on the faith and identity of the Jewish people and has deeply influenced Christian and Islamic traditions. Moses is remembered as a prophet, lawgiver, and deliverer. His faithfulness in the face of overwhelming challenges and his intimate relationship with God set a profound example for all believers. The themes of liberation, faith, and covenant in the Exodus narrative resonate across the ages. The story calls individuals and communities to remember that true freedom comes from God and that faith in His promises can lead to liberation from all forms of bondage, physical, spiritual, and social. The covenant at Sinai, with its emphasis on justice, mercy, and community, challenges believers to live out these values in their own lives. Moreover, the Exodus is a powerful reminder of God's sovereignty and His unwavering commitment to His people. It assures us that no matter how dire the circumstances, God is at work, guiding, providing, and delivering. The Passover, which commemorates the Exodus, remains a powerful symbol of God's redemption, celebrated by Jews annually and by Christians as a precursor to the salvation found in Jesus Christ. Conclusion. The story of Moses in the Exodus is more than a historical account. It is a testament to the power of faith and the reality of divine intervention in human history. It reminds us that God hears the cries of the oppressed and acts decisively to bring about liberation. Moses' journey from a prince of Egypt to a shepherd in Midian, and finally to the leader of a liberated nation, illustrates the transformative power of God's call. As we reflect on the Exodus, we are called to examine our own lives and our response to God's call. Are we willing to step out in faith, even when the path seems impossible? Do we trust in God's provision and guidance? The story of Moses and the Exodus challenges us to embrace our identity as God's people, committed to living out His covenant of justice, mercy, and love. In a world still rife with oppression and injustice, the message of the Exodus remains profoundly relevant. It calls us to be agents of liberation, to trust in God's power to overcome the forces of evil, and to live in the hope of His ultimate redemption. The journey of Moses and the Israelites is a journey we are all invited to join, moving from bondage to freedom, from despair to hope, and from death to life.